Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving deep into something really, really fascinating.
No, I know I'm excited about this one.
It's all about power dynamics, specifically building and guarding your reputation.
And what better way to explore this than through Law 5 of Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power?
Exactly. So much depends on reputation. Guard it with your life.
That's the one. And trust me, the examples we have lined up, well, let's just say you'll see just how crucial this is, no matter what you do or where you are in life.
Absolutely. So it's not just about, being likable or having good manners. This is reputation as a real source of power.
Right. Exactly. Think of it as like this aura that you project, a perception that comes even before you enter a room.
I like that.
A strong reputation can be intimidating to your rivals.
Oh, for sure.
But it can also really attract allies to you.
Yeah, you want to be on their good side.
And even open doors that would otherwise stay firmly shut.
So a strong reputation is like a powerful tool then.
It's both a shield and a sword, really. It helps you deflect attacks and also helps clear a path forward for you.
Interesting. I'm already seeing how this all ties together.
One fascinating example Greene uses is P.T. Barnum, the showman, the legend.
Oh, of course.
You see, he didn't buy the American Museum just by throwing money around.
Don't.
He very strategically targeted the reputation of his rivals, the owners of Peale's Museum.
Now, Barnum, he was known for his publicity stunts and pushing boundaries, right?
Right.
So what did he do?
Well, he orchestrated you could call it a brilliant campaign,
Okay.
but also ruthless. He flooded newspapers with letters.
Letters. Like what kind?
Oh, disguised as concerned citizens, you see, that claimed Peale's Museum was a total mess. Financially unstable.
Oh, wow.
Poorly managed.
So he was trying to make them look bad.
Exactly. And enough people believed these letters, these anonymous letters.
Right.
It was enough to damage Peale's stock price and make them look like a very risky investment. And that's when Barnum swooped in.
He saw his opportunity.
Offered to buy the American Museum from the owners who were now afraid to sell to Peale.
Wow. He literally manipulated their public image to get what he wanted.
It's a perfect example of the power of a carefully crafted narrative.
So this idea of controlling the narrative, it was happening even back then.
Oh, absolutely. Barnum, he understood that reputation is like a story we tell about ourselves, and sometimes we need to be proactive in shaping that story.
Before someone else does it for us.
Exactly. But this also shows just how fragile a reputation can be.
Right. What happens when, despite our best efforts, things go wrong? Our reputations come under attack.
Well, that's where the guarding it with your life really comes into play, because once a reputation is damaged, it's incredibly hard to restore.
I can imagine.
And Greene gives the example of Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher.
Okay, yeah.
Brilliant, groundbreaking ideas, but
Wait.
they were controversial, to say the least, and he was ultimately ostracized from those intellectual circles.
That's like a cautionary tale then. Even brilliance can't protect you from reputational damage.
Precisely. Now, Nietzsche may have been a genius, but he really underestimated, I think, the importance of, carefully navigating the social landscape.
Yeah.
His ideas were revolutionary, but often dismissed because of, perceived flaws in his character. So it's not enough to just be right. You also need to be seen as credible and trustworthy.
It's like people need to believe in you as a person too, not just your ideas.
Exactly.
And that takes constant work, I imagine. Watching out for those attacks and building up defenses.
All the time, yes. But what's also fascinating is how you can use reputation offensively to actually counter those who try to undermine you.
Ooh, now we're getting to the good stuff.
Oh, I know. I love these stories, too.
So what example does Greene give us for this?
He tells the story of Zhuge Liang, a brilliant Chinese military strategist. Now, he was falsely accused of treason.
Oh, no.
And his commander, to test him, gave him what seemed like an impossible task.
Oh, I bet. What was it?
To produce 100,000 arrows in 3 days.
Whoa. That does sound impossible. So what did he do?
Now, instead of panicking or trying to explain himself, he leveraged his already strong reputation. He was known for his cleverness.
Okay.
He knew his enemy was terrified of him.
So he used that to his advantage.
Exactly. He staged a daring but very calculated ruse.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. Tell me more.
He filled boats with straw figures
Straw figures?
and sailed them towards the enemy camp. under cover of fog.
Oh, wow.
And the enemy, they were convinced they were under attack
I couldn't see clearly.
by Liang's troops, and they fired, volley after volley of arrows into these straw men.
He used their fear against them. That's brilliant. So what happened in the morning?
Liang collected over 100,000 arrows, just like that.
He did it.
He fulfilled the impossible task, silenced his accusers.
What a story.
It shows how a strong reputation, when paired with some strategic thinking, well, it can turn a seemingly impossible situation into, well, a victory. It's a powerful reminder, Liang's story, that a reputation isn't just about defense. It's also a weapon you can use to outmaneuver your opponents, turn things around in your favor.
I'm loving this deep dive. Okay, so we've seen how a reputation can be both a shield and a sword. But how do we actually cultivate this seemingly magical aura of power?
Well, Green emphasizes that building and guarding your reputation, it's an ongoing thing, a constant game of chess.
The game of chess.
Yeah, played on the board of perception, really.
I like that analogy.
It's all about understanding how narratives work and how you can strategically shape the story that people tell about you. Almost like,
Like personal branding.
Yeah.
But with like a Machiavellian twist.
in a way, yeah, you could say that. You're consciously crafting an image, making sure your actions line up with the reputation you're building. And as we saw with Barnum, it can involve a degree of, calculated manipulation.
That does sound a bit morally ambiguous. Is it ethical to manipulate how people see you?
That's a really complex question. No easy answers.
Right.
We're talking about power dynamics here. And power, it can be used for good or bad. I think the key is to, wield it responsibly, with integrity.
That makes sense. So how do we strike that balance between self-promotion and deception?
Green stresses the importance of authenticity.
Okay.
Your reputation, it should be built on genuine strengths and achievements, not just smoke and mirrors. Think of it as amplifying what you already have, not making things up.
So showing your best self, basically.
Yeah.
Highlighting those strengths strategically.
Yeah.
And anticipating maybe those potential weaknesses.
Exactly. And a big part of this is understanding your audience. Who are you trying to impress? What do they value? And how can you demonstrate those qualities? Through your actions, through how you interact with them.
So tailoring your message to the people you want to reach.
Precisely. Because a reputation that's great in one context might totally fall flat in another. You have to adapt based on the situation.
Right. But even with all that planning, things can go wrong. What happens when you're attacked, despite your best efforts?
Well, that's where the guard it with your life really kicks in. You have to be ready to defend yourself, counter those false narratives, and repair the damage.
So what's the best way to do that? Do you go on the offensive, like Barnum? Or play a more subtle game, like Liang?
There's no one answer, really. The best approach depends on the situation, what kind of attack it is, who's involved. But one thing Green really emphasizes is speed.
Speed. Why is that so important?
Because the longer a negative story is out there, the harder it is to control. You need to stop those rumors quickly, address accusations head on, and present your side of the story before it sticks in people's minds.
You have to control the narrative before it controls you.
Exactly. And sometimes that means a direct counterattack, like Barnum, but other times a more subtle approach is better, like Liang.
It sounds like we need a whole toolkit of strategies ready to go depending on the situation. Any other key takeaways from Green about reputation?
One fascinating thing he talks about is reputation as a deterrent. He argues that a strong reputation, one that's known for being tough, for being decisive, can actually stop attacks before they happen.
You mean like if you're known as a badass, people won't mess with you?
Exactly. It's about setting boundaries, letting people know the consequences. Doesn't mean being a tyrant, but projecting that strength.
Like an invisible force field, repelling negativity.
Kind of, yeah. But this force field, it's built on respect, on credibility, not fear.
You don't want to become a bully just to protect your reputation.
Exactly. It's a delicate balance. Assertiveness, empathy, protecting yourself, and keeping your integrity. And that's where things get really interesting.
It really does seem like mastering this whole reputation thing. It's a lifelong journey, a constant balancing act. But, this deep dive has given me, a whole new appreciation for how powerful it is, how complex.
It really is fascinating. And in today's world, so relevant.
Right.
This hyper-connected world, social media, instant everything.
Reputations can change so quickly now.
In the blink of an eye.
So how do we apply these almost ancient laws of power to safeguard our reputations online? Because it's a different game now.
It comes down to, I think, being mindful of your digital footprint.
Yeah.
Curating this image, just like you would in person.
Everything we do is out there.
Everything you post, share, even your comments, they're all part of that story that people tell about you.
It's like a permanent record, except everyone has access to it.
So yeah, no drunken tweets.
Or embarrassing Facebook photos.
Exactly. Think about what you want your online self to say about you.
That makes sense.
And be consistent. Make sure it aligns with your values, what you want to achieve.
So let's say I want to be seen as, like, a thought leader in my field.
Okay. Yeah.
I should be sharing insightful articles, engaging in those thoughtful discussions online,
Yeah.
and avoiding those petty arguments and inflammatory language.
Exactly. Use those platforms to showcase what you know. Contribute to your community.
And build up that credibility and integrity.
That's it.
Now, what about when things go wrong online? Like, let's say someone posts something nasty about you, or a rumor starts spreading. How do you even begin to defend yourself in that digital world?
That's a tough one because, well, online conflicts can escalate so quickly
Right.
and the impact can last a long time. Green's advice here is to respond strategically, not emotionally.
Right.
Don't get drawn into those petty fights or, engage with trolls.
So ignore the haters.
Sometimes that works, but not always.
Right.
If it's something serious, a false accusation that's gaining traction, you might have to address it directly. But do it calmly, just present the facts.
So a measured response is better than, like, an angry rant.
Much better. Provide evidence, maybe testimonials. You're trying to win over the people watching, not convince the trolls. Keep your cool, stick to the facts, and let your reputation do the talking.
I feel like I've learned so much from this deep dive. It's been incredible. So to wrap things up, what's the one key takeaway about guarding your reputation? What should our listeners remember?
Your reputation is powerful, but it's also vulnerable. It needs constant attention and, well, a smart strategy, online and offline.
Right.
You have to craft a compelling narrative, make sure your actions match what you want to achieve, and defend yourself.
A constant process.
Building, protecting, and sometimes even, well, strategically using your reputation to get where you want to go.
That's such a good way to put it. It seems like Green's advice, even though it's from centuries ago, is more relevant now than ever.
I think so too. The game has changed, sure, but the core principles, they're still the same.
Thank you so much for this incredible deep dive. I feel like I have the tools now to not only protect my own reputation, but also to really appreciate, well, the brilliance of people who've mastered this throughout history.
My pleasure. And remember, your reputation, it's a journey, not a destination. Be mindful, be strategic, and never underestimate how powerful it can be.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, I want you to think about someone whose reputation you admire. What qualities do they have? What have they done to get there? Maybe their story can inspire you as you create your own path to success. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep those reputations shining.